When your dog refuses food, do you actually know what that means? You might think they're just being picky. Maybe they're holding out for something tastier. But behind that simple refusal, there's something deeper that most dog owners completely miss. It's one of the most vulnerable things your dog can do. And if you misunderstand it, which most owners do, you might miss a critical signal about their emotional or physical state. Let's start with what this behavior really means. 1. The picky eater myth is holding you back. Have you ever placed your dog's favorite meal down only for them to sniff it and walk away? Most people think it's about preference. They're just bored of this food. They're being stubborn. Here's what's actually happening. Dogs are not naturally picky eaters in the way humans are. In the wild, refusing food is risky. It goes against survival instinct. So when your dog refuses food, it's not casual. It's a signal. Emotionally, this behavior often reflects discomfort, stress, or internal imbalance, not attitude. Think about that for a second. A behavior that looks like choice might actually be your dog saying something isn't right. In a pack environment, eating is tied to safety. If a dog doesn't feel safe physically or emotionally, they may suppress hunger. What this reveals about how your dog sees you: they trust their environment enough to show vulnerability. And that includes showing when something feels off. And here's where most owners get it wrong. They try to fix it with better food instead of understanding the message. The science, appetite, is directly linked to emotion. Have you noticed your dog eats less after a big change? A move, a new pet, even a different schedule? Most people assume it's coincidence. Here's what's actually happening. A 2020 study in canine behavioral science found that stress hormones like cortisol directly suppress appetite in dogs, just like in humans. But what matters is this: your dog isn't just not hungry. Their body is reacting to something emotionally or physically overwhelming. Think about that for a second. When your dog skips a meal, their nervous system might be in a heightened state. Eating becomes secondary to survival awareness. Animal behavior. Researchers have observed that dogs in unfamiliar or tense environments consistently reduce food intake, even when food quality is high. What this reveals about how your dog sees you: you are their emotional anchor. When their world feels uncertain, their body reflects it. And here's where it gets even deeper. Food refusal isn't just about the food. It's about how your dog feels in that moment. 3. Your dog eats where they feel safe. Have you ever noticed your dog eats better in certain spots? Or worse, when things feel off at home? Most people don't think location matters. Here's what's actually happening. Dogs rely heavily on scent and environmental familiarity. Their feeding behavior is deeply tied to where they feel secure. A dog that hesitates to eat may be reacting to subtle changes. You don't even notice new smells, tension in the home, unfamiliar sounds. Emotionally, eating requires vulnerability. When your dog lowers their head to eat, they're momentarily less alert. That only happens when they feel safe. Think about that for a second. Your dog isn't just choosing food. They're choosing whether the environment feels safe enough to let their guard down. In pack behavior, eating often happens in trusted proximity. Dogs associate safety with familiar individuals and routines. What this reveals about how your dog sees you: you are their safe base. If something disrupts that feeling even slightly, it can affect their willingness to eat. So next time your dog refuses food, remember, it might not be the meal. It might be the moment. Now, before we keep going, if you're learning something new about your dog, hit like and subscribe. That's how we get these videos to more people who want to build a real bond with their dog. 4. This behavior goes back to survival instincts. Why would a dog ever ignore food if survival depends on it? Here's what most people don't realize. In the wild, animals don't eat when they feel vulnerable. Wolves, the ancestors of modern dogs, only eat when the environment feels secure. If there's danger nearby, eating stops. That instinct still exists in your dog. Think about that for a second. A skipped meal might not mean I don't want this. It might mean I don't feel safe enough right now. Even puppies show this early. When separated from their mother or introduced to a new environment, their appetite often drops temporarily. This isn't random, it's instinct. What this reveals about how your dog sees you. They rely on you to signal safety. Your presence, your tone, your routine. It all shapes whether they relax enough to eat. And here's where it gets even more powerful. Feeding time isn't just nutrition. It's emotional context. 5. They don't do this with everyone. Have you ever noticed your dog eats differently depending on who feeds them? Maybe they eat normally with you, but hesitate with someone else. Most people overlook this completely. Here's what's actually happening. Food behavior is deeply tied to trust. Dogs are more likely to eat when they feel secure with the person nearby. Emotionally, this is about connection, not hunger. Think about that for a second. Your dog isn't just responding to food, they're responding to who is present and what that presence means to them. Impact dynamics. Lower ranking or uncertain members may hesitate to eat in the presence of unfamiliar individuals. What this reveals about how your dog sees you. You are not just the provider. You are the signal that it's okay to relax. And this is where the bond becomes visible, in a way most people miss. 6. The ultimate revelation. Food refusal is communication. What if your dog refusing food isn't a problem but a message? Here's what's actually happening. Dogs don't use words, they use behavior. And refusing food is one of the clearest ways they communicate. Discomfort, confusion, or even pain. A 2021 study in veterinary behavioral medicine found that sudden appetite loss is one of the earliest indicators of underlying health issues in dogs. But emotionally, it goes deeper than that. Think about that for a second. Your dog is choosing not to eat something instinctively critical because something else matters more in that moment. That could be stress. That could be anxiety. That could be physical discomfort. What this reveals about how your dog sees you. They trust you enough to show when something is wrong, even if they can't explain it. And this is where most owners miss the signal. They wait too long. 7. The warning. If it suddenly stops, don't ignore it. And by the way, if your dog ever suddenly stops eating completely, don't ignore it. Well, come back to that, because it means more than most people realize. Here's what's actually happening. A gradual change might be emotional, but a sudden refusal, especially over 24-48 hours, can signal something serious. It could be digestive issues, pain, illness. Think about that for a second. The one behavior tied most closely to survival has stopped. That's not small. Remember earlier when I mentioned sudden changes? This is what that really means. Your dog isn't being difficult. They might be struggling. What this reveals about how your dog sees you. You are their only interpreter. If you miss the signal, no one else will catch it for them. Don't ignore this. So when your dog refuses food, what does it really mean? It's not just pickiness. It's not just mood. It's communication. It's your dog telling you how they feel, physically, emotionally, instinctively. That's not stubbornness. That's vulnerability. And that behavior, it was never small to your dog. And it shouldn't be small to you either.